So one of the main roadblocks I experienced in my intermediate days was feeling trapped inside scale patterns. I had studied patterns for the major scale, the minor pentatonic, and the major pentatonic, but I couldn't figure out why, even after years of practice, I was still having a hard time making music with those scales. I wanted desperately to be able to craft melodies and constantly come up with fresh ideas, but anytime I tried breaking out of scale patterns, I would get lost, I would make mistakes, and then revert to the comfort of the memorized licks I had grown tired of playing years ago at that point. Eventually, I learned something new about guitar improvisation that broke me out of my rut and opened new doors for my lead playing to flourish. So that's exactly what I'm going to share with you today. If you're new here, my name is Ross Campbell. I'm an online instructor and performing musician from Scotland, now living in Nashville, Tennessee. If you end up enjoying this lesson and you want to learn more from me, you might want to grab my free intermediate soloing course, which is linked in the description box beneath the video. Okay, so when we guitar players learn and study scale patterns, we naturally gravitate towards vertical fretboard movement. That means playing through the notes of a scale pattern in this direction, from the bottom strings to the top strings and the other way around. That's how I used to move through the fretboard exclusively. I would pick a starting position of a scale and sort of set up camp by sticking within its 4 to 5 fret radius. And then if I was feeling brave, I might try moving up to the next position and doing the same thing. I was basically seeing the fretboard in these memorized 4 to 5 fret chunks that I would play through vertically first before moving up or down to the next pattern. Now, vertical movement is not a good or bad thing, but if you're watching this and you can relate to being in this rut where you're stuck inside scale patterns and you're just kind of mindlessly wandering through them, and you wish that you could find a way to sound more melodic when you're soloing, then keep listening, because what changed the game for me was to do the opposite of vertical movement. To stop doing this all the time and start doing this, moving through the fretboard horizontally from bottom to top. And to do that in a way that sounded musical, I had to learn something other than scale patterns. So I learned about an incredible tool for lead guitar playing called triads. Now, triads are 3-note chords that contain a root, third, and fifth. And whether you realize it or not, I guarantee you already know some triads. If we take a look at this A major bar chord, I mean, you've definitely played that shape at least 100 times. I might be playing notes on all 6 strings there, but really there are only 3 notes. We've got A, C sharp, and E. Those notes are the root, third, and fifth in an A major chord. Now, triad shapes are small structures that, when visualized, allow you to target the notes that make improvising melodically so much easier. Why do they make it easier to play melodic solos? Well, to me, melodic guitar solos are ones that follow the harmony of the song, meaning the chord progressions. If, for example, you are playing over a track in, say, E major, and the first 2 chords in the progression are E major and A major, wouldn't it make sense to play licks that target the triads for each of those chords? Check out this lick that does exactly that. I'm sure you can hear that there's a strong connection between my note choices and the chords that they're played over. But even if I play that lick again, this time without the backing track, you should be able to hear the chord changes happening through my note choices alone. And you may have noticed that I'm moving horizontally up and down the fretboard as opposed to vertically. And that's because over each chord, I'm connecting a couple of triad shapes that I can see on the fretboard. And those triad shapes are located in different positions, which means if I want to connect them, I have to move horizontally. So let's look at that lick in a little more detail. I want you to start by playing the triad shapes that I demonstrate. We'll start with the E major chord. So over this chord, I played 2 E major triad shapes. The first looks like this. Okay, so follow the diagram and get that under your fingers now. And the second E major triad shape was this. Again, follow the diagram and play that yourself. Over the A major chord, I played 2 A major triad shapes. The first was this. And the second was this. And now I want you to try playing the lick with me to get a sense of how to implement these shapes into your licks. It's not a case of just picking through each note in each triad shape. Because let's face it, that doesn't sound creative or inspiring at all. Because these triad shapes are naturally found within the notes of the E major scale, I'm moving through the notes of the scale and making efforts to creatively work those triad shapes into my lines. So here we go. I'm going to play it slowly a couple of times, and the diagrams on screen will show you what I'm visualizing on the fretboard as I play it. Now, every triad shape I just showed you is naturally found within the notes and therefore the patterns of the E major scale, since that's the key that this track is in. So if you can learn how to find these triad shapes within your memorized patterns of the major scale, then gradually you're going to stop wandering aimlessly through scale patterns, hoping and praying to land on notes that sound good, and you'll start to develop an awareness of notes that you can target in your licks and solos that are going to make it a lot easier to sound melodic. Let's look at one more example a little further up the fretboard. In this example, these are the triad shapes I'm visualizing for E major. And these are the triad shapes I'm visualizing for A major. Now I'll play through the lick again at a slower tempo so that you can follow along at home. So how do you go further with the material that I've shown you in this lesson? Well, if you click the link in the description box beneath the video, you'll be able to get free lifetime access to my intermediate soloing course, Melodic Soloing with Triads. This is a 2.5 hour long video course that teaches intermediate players how to break out of scale patterns and use triads to play solos that ooze melody and feel. And based on the reviews it's received so far, I might have to start charging for it soon, so you might as well act now and get it for free whilst you still can. If you've got the course already, I'd love to hear what you think of it in the comments section. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.